Senator Ron Johnson, who posted an editorial in the New York Times breaking down some of his reasons he's against this bill. Let's talk about his objections to the process leading up to where we're at right now.
We need a vote this week, and the Senate needs to pass a compromise this week. Obamacare is falling apart across the country.
Well, okay, we'll disagree on that, Hugh. First of all, I come from a manufacturing background, and I do know how to solve problems. And what has transpired in the Senate so far, and I'd say in the House, are the design of bills void of information. But I'm not going to be able to press that case. We're not going to be able to make the changes to the bill if we're forced into a vote this week. We just don't have time.
That's why you got reelected, to pass this bill this week. It's a disaster not to do so.
Hugh, you don't have to do it this week. I just completely disagree with you on that. You know, what I found, and again, I've been traveling around the state tirelessly. No offense, way more than you have.
Of course you have.
My stance, my stance in terms of let's take the time, try and get it right, but also give people a chance to find out exactly what is in the Senate bill. Let's get some numbers.
But you have to begin the journey with one step. And I have to push back hard, Senator. I believe the Republican Party will suffer a massive defeat at the polls in 2018 if it fails to deliver on its core promise.
Quite honestly, because leadership wants to jam this and force it, using that as a forcing mechanism. I don't know, Hugh, I just find that a little offensive. I'm behind the clothes. I see what leadership's trying to do. They're trying to jam this thing through. It is far from a perfect bill. But I'm not.
Of course it is. I don't like parts of it.
All I'm asking is let's give ourselves a few more days, maybe a week or two. Don't jam this thing.
We can't fix everything in a bill. The Senate has only got 52 Republicans. You got to get the most you can get. But you have 4 days. This is not the Manhattan Project. You don't have to invent anything.
He really doesn't think that this is a major bill that's going to affect a lot of people's lives. And also, you can't wait a day or two. It needs to be done now. Think about the toll that you'll take electorally if you don't repeal this thing, this Obamacare that has majority approval in the population. I mean, look at the poll. He doesn't even have to reference polls. He can simply say that your entire party will go down unless you pass this thing.
Yep.
Because of course the donors don't like it. Yeah, sure. But there's data, and again, I tweeted about this over the weekend. It's people suppose analysts will just say these things about policy and about electoral strategy and all that without referencing any data. Either they don't know that there are actual people accumulating information that you can base these assertions on, or they know that it's out there and they're either not equipped to analyze it or they know that it wouldn't support their case. But there's too much just asserting things without any reference to reality. Like you can say, here is a poll that backs up what I say, and someone can look at that poll and not agree with it necessarily, but you should at least try to have some data for what you're asserting.
Hugh Hewitt was a person that interviewed Ron Johnson about this and begged him. He said, literally, quote from Hugh Hewitt in another part of the radio interview, "I just beg you, Ron Johnson, you know I supported you for 2 election cycles. Do not kill this bill this week. I just beg you." Hugh Hewitt now has a show on MSNBC. So tell me again about the liberal media. The only example they have about anyone with a perspective is MSNBC, right? Among the mainstream press. And they just hired the guy who's begging a Republican senator after having supported him with every ounce of his being, begging him to vote for the Republican bill so that 22 million people will be kicked off health insurance, etc. Tell me again who the liberal media is. There's no such thing, man. Everybody in the establishment media with their parent corporations that are multi-billion-dollar giant organizations are not on your side. They're not on progressive side. So they're going to normalize everything, and this should not be normalized. This bill is deeply draconian, and so far the only opposition from the right that has mounted against it wants it to be even more draconian. That's a fact.
The only silver lining with him getting that show, the weekend show, is that I have listened to Hugh Hewitt. How long could that show possibly last? Who the hell is gonna watch that?
No, but look.
Oh, the millennials aren't watching TV news anymore. What can we do? Hugh Hewitt.
Okay, so But it goes to the other point. Why is Hugh Hewitt getting shown on MSNBC, right? Because he has no audience. Tell me, you know what people in media do when they have a large audience? And by the way, present company not excluded, they brag about it, okay? They say, I have this, I have that, here's my ratings, here's my numbers, right? I have never heard of Hugh Hewitt's size of his audience because he's on radio. And he's a small show on radio. Did you hear him? Okay, even conservatives don't like him. He has approximately 17 listeners, including his family. What? If you actually cared about getting ratings and you actually cared about running a progressive network, Hugh Hewitt would be literally, in a country of 330 million people, among the very last people you would put on air. But on the other hand, if you didn't care about ratings, but you desperately wanted to put more conservatives on air, Hugh Hewitt is exactly the guy you would hire.
Yeah.
You don't like ads? I hear you, brother. You know how you can avoid ads for the Young Turks? Become a Young Turks member and get all the content ad-free. TYTnetwork.com/join.